Reed. The Honda rider comes right back up, and they are bar to bar through the rhythm section. Kevin Windham, he's going to win in front of the hometown crowd. Chad Reed goes down here in the Metrodome. And Millsaps was right in the battle for the lead, and he's down.
If that gets in the rear wheel, where the rear brake is,
Yep.
it worked up the rear brake.
Did. Oh, no! Who's got the strength? Who's got the endurance? Who's got the heart? Reed to the outside, cuts back inside. What a championship fight!
After an epic 2007, the 2008 version of Supercross promised to be the very best season ever. The fastest man on the planet, James Stewart, was returning to the series that saw him claim top honors just a year before. But waiting for him was a field packed full of hungry and talented riders, ready to knock him off his throne. Former Supercross champion Chad Reed was rested and ready. Tim Ferry arrived with a ton of Supercross experience and a new training regimen. Grant Langston was riding the momentum of his recent U.S. Open championship. Michael Alessi was taking the reins of the Suzuki bike that Ricky Carmichael had ridden to 2 championships. And Honda was back with a vengeance, boasting both veterans like Kevin Windham and Andrew Short, along with celebrated newcomer Davey Millsaps. Plus, the AMA Supercross Series and FIM World Supercross GP would roll their formerly separate titles into one unified championship. In 2008, Monster Energy AMA Supercross and FIM World Championship will crown one overall Supercross champion for the first time ever. Supercross is big-time entertainment, and last year, over 800,000 fans attended live events. These faithful followers of the sport were treated to a world-class show.
Say hello to Red Dog Tim Ferry!
To come out of that stage or to walk down and fans just high-fiving you, you know, to have the whole stadium looking at you, whether it be 30, 40, 60-something thousand people, it's definitely a rush for sure.
You know, I try to entertain. We here, you know, it's a really serious championship. It's the best championship on earth in our sport. But you know, it's not a job for me. You know, I'm here to have fun. I'm trying my best, but we have to play a little bit. You know, and the fans, you know, they don't want to see somebody that say, "Oh, hi," you know, and they want to see somebody that is having fun on the track.
Just sitting in the tunnel waiting to go out for opening ceremonies, and before the gate drops, all the adrenaline, excitement, the crowd cheering. There's so many things that go into Supercross that make it so great.
When I hear all the Americans yelling and screaming when the national anthem finishes, when I get goosebumps up my spine, well, then I know that, you know, this is where I want to be, and it's time to go racing.
Yeah, the opening ceremonies with the fireworks and the crowd was, you know, the building of emotions is incredible for me still to this day. Going into the 08 season, it still can make the hair on the back of your neck stand up and just kind of give you chills, and you know, you just feel like you're on top of the world and nothing can be against you when you got the cheers coming.
Supercross is spine-tingling emotion and excitement. And if you're one of the 800,000 fans who came to an event in 2008, chances are you met your favorite rider and most likely got his autograph. The Monster Energy Festival Village is full of family-friendly activities for kids of all ages. The series travels across the country and into Canada. And while you never know who is going to win, one thing is certain: you will be among the best-looking crowds anywhere. Supercross returned to the home of the sport for the opening round, Anaheim, California. However, the Sunshine State was anything but. Weeks of heavy rain had made its mark on the track, Setting the stage for an opening round mud race, Grant Langston darted out of the gate and won the hole shot, followed closely by fellow Australian Chad Reed. Back in the pack, James Stewart got tangled and went down.
James Stewart goes down in the first corner.
Piling up most of the field around him and remounting close to last. Reed passed Langston early in the first lap, only to stall his bike on the second.
Chad Reed has stalled the bike, and Langston now taking the lead.
Chad had dropped back to fourth, but quickly made up time and positions until a bobble by Langston put him back in the lead.
Reed on the 22, and Langston has problems, and Reed goes to the lead.
Meanwhile, Stewart was making an impressive muddy charge through the pack, pulling up into fourth behind Tim Ferry and Langston before making an incredible 2-for-1 pass that pulled him into second.
Mike Fisher, team manager for the Kawasaki team, has to be a little nervous seeing his two riders side by side, but it works out okay for James Stewart, and he gets Langston.
But that's as close as James would get, as Reed took the checkered flag with a 12-second lead.
Chad Reed wins in a high run.
After a congratulatory handshake from the defending champ, Reed made sure to acknowledge his rabid fans, who were more than happy to share in the excitement of his first win of the season.
No, I knew I just needed to get a good start and go from there. And I went to the lead right away, and I knew GL was going to be strong, and I was just hoping that two of us were just going to check out. And made a small bobble, stalled the bike, but man, then my brakes, I think that fired me up a little bit. Made me come back and just fight all 20 laps. I had a good time out there. Track was really ruddy and tough. So super pumped for Sam Manuel and Fusion. All the guys on the team, it was a good effort.
Many in the Supercross world assumed Chad would make the podium in Anaheim, but not necessarily in the top spot. The Australian was at the top of the leaderboard with 25 points, followed by James Stewart with 22 points and Tim Ferry with 20. After the rain, the desert climate was just what Supercross needed for the second round.
Chad Reed and James Stewart come in as the two heat race winners. Nick Way, the last chance qualifier winner. As we get set to see if we can get another name at the top step of the podium this week. And Chad Reed go 2 for 2 as James Stewart finally find his way. Here we go. Main event from Phoenix.
The two riders began to separate themselves from the pack, preparing for the head-to-head battle everyone had been waiting for.
Here comes Reed inside as they go to the split. Boy, that's something that Stewart wasn't expecting, was Reed to be right there like that. And Reed's giving it everything he's got, side by side. Battle for the lead. Oh, and Reed did everything he could not to run into him, but it cost him.
By mid-race, Chad was edging ever closer to James when the Kawasaki rider went into overdrive, pulling faster and faster lap times until his lead was simply too great for the Australian to overcome.
James Stewart wins inside Chase Field, his first victory of 2008.
In the end, Reed had to settle for second, followed by Supercross veteran Kevin Windham.
I mean, Chad was putting a strong charge in the beginning. I was like, you know what, it's a long race, and I feel good in my endurance, so I was just going to let it play out. And then finally I got in a rhythm and started kind of creeping away a little bit, but man, the track was gnarly out there. You had to be consistent just like last week.
Trading places from the round before, James and Chad were all tied up with 47 points each, followed by Windham's 36. For the third round of the season, Supercross not only went back to Anaheim, but back in time as well. It was throwback night, recalling Supercross circa 1986 with retro gear, bikes, and an exact replica of the Anaheim track from over 20 years ago. More than 40 past superstars from the sport were in attendance, including David Bailey and Ricky Johnson, who 2 decades ago had staged the epic battle that tonight's ceremonies commemorated. Along with the shock of the 80s fashion, Supercross was in for another shock. James Stewart would not be racing.
About 5 weeks ago, actually a little bit later than that, I actually ended up having a tire problem and came off a triple. A tire blew out and I hurt my knee again. And you know, I've been just kind of dealing with it. I haven't rode since actually December 20th. That's when it happened, and I just been trying to suck it up every weekend. But every weekend it's just getting worse and worse. And then finally I went out there today, and just a knee feels just really unstable. And you know, it's to the point now. There's nothing I can do about it except for, you know, get it fixed.
The injury was finally catching up with him, forcing him to the sidelines for the main event. With James not riding, the rest of the pack knew that tonight's race was wide open. Mike Alessi took the whole shot, only to be passed by Chad Reed early on the first lap.
And Alessi is still out front until Reed squares him up in the corner.
Davey Millsaps was riding in third until a bobble forced him into the tough blocks, opening the door for Supercross newcomer Josh Hill.
Josh Hill doing a great job. Oh, Millsaps! Big mistake, off into the tough blocks.
While Reed concentrated on stretching his lead, the action back in the pack centered around Alessi, with Hill passing him on lap 5.
Josh Hill now inside of Alessi. That's for second.
And Windham passing him 1 lap later.
Windham trying to jump in front of him. Gets to the inside and takes over third.
By the time the checkered flag fell, Reed had stretched his lead to over 10 seconds, easily securing his second win of the season. As Supercross returned to San Francisco for round 4, 2 things were becoming a constant. The first was torrential rain, and the second was possibly more alarming. No James Stewart again.
James Stewart is out with a knee injury. Suffered it at Anaheim 2. Had surgery on his knee on Wednesday. He will miss the entire season. Just a tremendous blow to the season series.
Track conditions were quickly deteriorating, so the main event was cut from the standard 20 laps down to 15.
And you can see the rain just pelting this already soaked racetrack.
At the start, Tim Ferry grabbed the whole shot, only to be passed by Kevin Windham on the first lap.
First one to the whole shot is not Mike Alessi, it's Tim Ferry, the rider out of Florida.
Former champion Chad Reed got a mediocre jump off the gate and was buried in the middle of the pack. Millsaps found the energy in his bike to triple a jump and get past Windham, while Reed sped his way up to third.
And he comes inside of Windham to take the lead.
This order held fast until lap 6, when Windham went off course and Chad moved into second.
And Kevin Windham is off the course, and Chad Reed goes by. The points leader is now up to second.
1 lap later, Davey had his own problems with the slippery track, going down after a jump and gifting Reed with sole possession of first place.
It's crazy night as Millsaps goes down. Millsaps is down, the leader, and Chad Reed goes by.
Amazingly, Chad began to check out despite the worsening track conditions.
He wins his 3rd round of 2008, taking the checkered flag here at AT&T Park in San Francisco.
By the time the checkered flag fell, Chad was the front runner by a large margin, easily grabbing the top spot on the podium.
It was tough, you know. It was I struggled in my heat, and we put some different things on to try and stop the mud and the rocks getting in my brake. But I was actually really excited to see the rain, to be honest. I don't know why. I really wanted to have a mud race. I wanted to ride good and ride strong, and I felt good. You know, I didn't get the best stop, but I knew that I could be patient. It was 15 laps instead of 20, and just knew I was going to be consistent. And I made a lot of mistakes, but man, that one feels good. I'm pumped with that win. I feel like I rode strong.
Chad Reed sat atop the standings with 97 points, with Windham in second with 78, and Tim Ferry in third with 57. It was back to Anaheim for round 5, and thankfully, a dry main event. With 2 previous Angel Stadium wins under his belt, Chad Reed had a chance to make history. A victory tonight would give him a season sweep of all Anaheim events. Reed hustled out of the gate to grab the whole shot, shadowed by Kevin Windham and Davey Millsaps.
Chad Reed gets the whole shot. Kevin Windham comes with him. Davey Millsaps runs in third.
Windham and Millsaps then briefly traded places on the first lap.
The 2 Honda riders bar to bar as they work their way through the rhythm section. Windham on the 14 in the red and white riding gear. Millsaps on the 118 in the blue and white.
Until Windham finally won out in the whoop section for sole possession of second. Windham then quickly gained ground on the leader.
Here he comes inside of Reed. And the crowd goes crazy here at Angel Stadium. And he's got to know he can hear Windham behind him now.
And by lap 2 found himself nearly bar to bar with Reed. For the next number of laps, Chad would feel a pressure that he hadn't yet felt this season. Another world-class rider hot on his heels.
This is the most pressure Chad Reed has had from anyone except James Stewart in a while.
Shortly before the midway point in the main, Reed managed to lengthen his lead despite Windham's best efforts to keep up. Then on lap 10, Millsaps was able to get past the Supercross veteran and claim second.
And Ferry now really coming in on the Kawasaki. The rider from fourth in green on the number 15 is right there. Millsaps inside of Windham for second place.
Davey kept up with Chad admirably, but the Australian's lead held to give him not only his 4th win of the season, but a sweep of all Anaheim rounds as well, becoming only the 2nd rider besides injured defending champion James Stewart to do so. Reed stretched his lead with 122 points, followed by Windham with 96, and Tim Ferry with 77 points. The final California round of the 2008 Supercross season was held in San Diego's Qualcomm Stadium.
Did you look at our monster starting grid? Here we go, main event time. Davey Millsaps on the 118 Honda with the hole shot.
Davey Millsaps led all riders through the hole shot, followed by Chad Reed and Andrew Short. Chad and Davey swapped passes early in the first lap, with Chad making his stick to take control of the pack.
Here comes Reed alongside of Millsaps, and he takes the lead.
That's just what a champion does. They go out and Millsaps retaliates.
The Honda rider comes right back up, and they are bar to bar through the rhythm section. Oh, and he stops him in the far end.
Reed worked on extending his lead until he had a 6-second pad over the rest of the field. But then, with 8 laps to go, Chad had a problem in the difficult sand section.
Enthusiastic crowds every time. Oh, down goes Reed! The door might have opened up for Millsaps. There he goes! We've got a new leader in San Diego!
Millsaps inherited first place, while Reed remounted in third and immediately began fighting his way back toward the Supercross newcomer. The next few laps would see Millsaps hold off the points leader until they both arrived at the same sand section where Reed went down a few laps earlier.
The Australian rider Reed, here he comes, setting up the inside move, and Millsaps hugs the outside and holds on for now. Reed tries to get inside, can't get it done. This is what did Reed last time. He makes a brilliant move.
Meanwhile, Tim Ferry had been posting increasingly fast lap times and was giving Davey all he could handle.
Here comes Ferry. Ferry gets around the 118 of Millsaps.
If Ferry had a few more laps, he might have caught Reed, but Chad held on for his 5th San Diego win, tying Jeremy McGrath for most wins in Qualcomm Stadium.
Chad Reed wins San Diego for the 5th time.
Chad's top podium spot also meant he was the King of California, going 5 for 5 in Sunshine State victories.
I mean, I crashed and, you know, Davey got me. I got around him quick on the first lap and he got right back around me and, you know, I just tried to sit in behind him and let the race kind of flow a little bit. I didn't want to go stop playing, you know, tick for tack. I just wanted to get into a rhythm and, you know, I knew 20 laps was a long time around here. I wasn't feeling it, not gonna lie. You know, as soon as I got into first, I made a good gap on those guys. I didn't know if they made a mistake or something happened, but I gapped them real quick and then, I don't know, I just kind of lost concentration in the sand a little bit and went down. But, man, I'm so happy to sweep California and get another win in San Diego. This place has been awesome for me.
It also stretched his lead in the standings, with Reed's 147 points looming over Windham's 112. Tim Ferry was holding on to third place with 99 points. So far, Chad Reed had claimed a main event victory in all but one race this season, but his narrow win in San Diego meant that the other riders might have found a weakness in his game, including Kevin Windham, who designed tonight's Reliant Stadium track.
Really, I think it's more about bragging rights right now, Jeff, to be the guy to beat Chad Reed.
I think it's Kevin Windham who's going for the trifecta here tonight.
Once again, Davey Millsaps shot out of the gate to claim the hole shot, followed by Windham and Josh Hill in third.
First one
After a bad jump off the line, Chad Reed was buried back in the middle of the pack. Millsaps had spent most of the season so far mixing it up at the front of the pack, but he'd also made his share of mistakes, and tonight would be no different.
Oh, down goes Millsaps. Millsaps is down in the corner.
Kevin Windham was granted the lead, while Davey wouldn't get his wheels under him until the entire pack had passed by. Meanwhile, Reed spent the first half of the main working his way past rider after rider, trying to catch Windham.
Here's Reed. He's up to fourth now, Jeff.
He's up to fourth, and he's 4 seconds behind our leader, Kevin Windham.
Coming up strong is Chad Reed. Looking to the inside. The block pass set up beautifully by Reed.
But by the time Reed had cleared the pack, Windham had checked out to an 8-second lead and would hold that distance until the final jump.
Kevin Windham makes the final couple of corners, and he's going to win in front of the hometown crowd on a racetrack that he designed here in Houston, Texas.
It was Kevin Windham's first main event victory since the opening round in 2005.
No, what a weekend, man. I'm so glad that I could save it for this weekend. Torco Racing Fuels Honda's been running great all year. I'd like to thank AMSOIL and No Fear Energy and Planet Fitness Gyms as well. It's just been incredible, and for it to come here, I couldn't have picked a better spot. Sure, you always want to win earlier, but this one's really special, and I'm going to cherish it. It's been a long time since I won a race before, and it may be a long time again. I'm going to keep my head down, keep plugging, but I'm going to enjoy tonight for right now.
And it showed the rest of the world-class field that fast as he was, Chad Reed was by no means unbeatable.
Yeah, I just didn't get the best start, and it was tough. There's a lot of 90s out here. I knew in my heat race that that start was going to be real important, and man, I had my head down and butt up, and we didn't pull it off.
However, thanks to Reed's second-place finish on the night, Windham only made up a little ground on the leader in the overall point standings. Chad was still in front with 169 points over Windham's 137, and both were ahead of Tim Ferry, who had 119 points. Atlanta was the home for round 8 of Supercross, and even though injured defending champion James Stewart wasn't racing, his presence was still felt since he designed tonight's Georgia Dome track, a track that would prove to be one of the most demanding of the season. A capacity crowd was on hand to see Chad Reed grab the whole shot, followed closely by Davey Millsaps and Nathan Ramsey.
Chad Reed gets the whole shot.
That's Davey Millsaps in second. Chad's teammate Nathan Ramsey running third.
Millsaps shadowed Reed throughout the first lap, almost catching him in the whoops section.
And he's next to Reed.
Over the wall. Side by side. Here comes Millsaps.
Meanwhile, Kevin Windham was overcoming an average start and beginning to charge.
Kevin Windham right there at a 51.4. He is on pace with Chad Reed.
At the same time, Reed was starting to stretch his lead until disaster struck.
Reed, he is down on the 22, the race leader and the championship points leader.
And he is losing a lot of time, Ralph. That hands over the lead to the Georgia native, Davey Millsaps.
By the time Chad returned to the race, more than half the pack had passed him by. The straight section was the longest the riders had seen all season, and on lap 7, Windham used it to his advantage to power around Ramsey for second.
Ramsey, the teammate to Chad Reed. Bobbles coming out of the corner, and Windham's passed for second.
By mid-race, Tim Ferry was once again moving up through the pack, passing 2 riders in as many laps to take control of third.
Sits in fourth in the green Kawasaki of Tim Ferry comes along the outside challenging. Now he cuts inside. He takes the spot away. Here's a battle going on between Nathan Ramsey and Tim Ferry over third position.
With 8 laps to go, the difficult Georgia Dome track claimed another victim as Josh Hill misjudged a jump and went into the tough blocks. After some exciting late racing position juggling by Short, Ferry, and Ramsey, the checkered flag saw Short hang on to third. Windham finished second, and Davey Millsaps claimed his very first Supercross main event win in front of his hometown fans.
Davey Millsaps has done it. He's won his first Supercross, and it comes in his home race in Georgia.
Not only did Chad Reed miss a podium appearance, but he missed the top 5 entirely, finishing in 6th. But tonight's focus was on the up-and-coming Honda rider, as Davey Millsaps celebrated the first of what he hoped would be many main event victories.
Yeah, you know, I just can't thank American Honda Red Bull Racing and my mechanic Carlos, my trainer Johnny. You know, everyone that's been behind me, you know, they pushed me this year, and you know, I can't even tell you how happy I am.
But Davey's main event win still didn't place him among the top 3 in points, where Reed still led with 184, followed by Wyndham with 159, and Ferry's 137 points. Round 9 of the 2008 Supercross season would mark the end of an era. It was the very last time Supercross would race in the RCA Dome. To commemorate the event, retired Indy hometown legend Mike LaRocco took a final lap around the track to send the stadium off in style. Tonight's track was packed with tight corners and difficult rhythm sections, just as its designer, Chad Reed, had wanted.
I just wanted to have long straightaways of rhythm sections and just things that I enjoy when I'm out there riding. I would have liked to have had a really long, gnarly set of whoops. I think that would have been fun, but you know, just kind of left that out, got a little bit too creative, and tried to stay away from 90-degree turns. I'm not a fan.
But would creating his own course be enough to get the points leader back on the podium?
That will go to Chad Reed. Reed gets the whole shot. Dungey coming right with him. And so is Short on the 29. And Millsaps on the 118.
Chad started off well, blasting out of the gate and grabbing the whole shot. For the first lap, a number of riders remained bunched up behind the Yamaha Star, jockeying for position. By lap 3, 2 Honda riders, Kevin Wyndham and Davey Millsaps, were locked in an intense battle for third.
Here comes a 14. Wyndham's on the charge. He's reeling in Millsaps.
And Kevin Wyndham just did something no one has done all night. He tripled all the way through that section and is still trying to take that position from Millsaps.
Lap 7 saw another heated battle, this time for 5th, between surprising newcomer Josh Hill and Ryan Dungey, racing in his very first Supercross class race ever. Meanwhile, all the passing back in the pack was allowing Chad Reed to pull away to a 6-second lead. With 9 laps to go, Wyndham began to fade, first being passed by fellow Red Rider Millsaps, and then slipping back into 6th.
Meanwhile, here's Ryan Dungey battling with the great veteran Kevin Wyndham, and Dungey gets inside, stands him up, and completes the pass.
Wyndham wasn't the only rider losing ground. Chad's technical track design was playing havoc with the rest of the field, especially Millsaps, who found himself going off track and surrendering second to Hill with only 4 laps to go.
Davey Millsaps is down. Davey Millsaps is off in between 2 different lanes of the rhythm sections. He was running second. That'll put Josh Hill to second and Andrew Short to third.
With a 15-second lead, Reed lapped the rest of the pack all the way up to 10th place by the time the checkered flag fell.
One more trip through the loops, and Chad Reed has done it. He wins the final race in the RCA Dome.
Rounding out the podium was Josh Hill and Andrew Short. After 2 disappointing rounds, Reed was back on top, winning his first ever Indianapolis main event in the very last race in RCA Dome history. With no podium appearance for Wyndham, Reed gained ground on the veteran, improving to 209 points over Kevin's 175. Andrew Short moved up to 3rd in the standings as well, with 141 points. After last week's mud battle in Daytona, an indoor stadium was a welcome sight for the riders as they returned to the Metrodome in Minneapolis for the first time in 4 years. Points leader Chad Reed was regrouping after the emotional week he just endured. Not only did the muddy Daytona conditions cost Chad Reed a win, they also cost him physically as well. Fighting a virus, he was still determined to come out on top of the podium once again. Supercross class rookie Ryan Dungey got the whole shot to the delight of his hometown fans.
And the hometown kid, Ryan Dungey, gets the whole shot.
And listen to the crowd in Minneapolis. They're loving it.
Another rookie, Josh Hill, followed close behind along with veteran Kevin Windham. Andrew Short was in the hunt for the top 3, as was Reed. On lap 4, Reed made the pass on Short to gain 4th.
And here comes Reed inside of Short.
Just as Hill threw down an aggressive pass to take the lead from Dungey. Reed then posted some amazingly fast lap times and passed both Windham and Dungey to move directly behind the leader Hill.
And here comes Windham fighting with Chad Reed. Reed tries to get inside the 14 and makes the pass to move himself to 3rd.
You can see Chad Reed really starting to get aggressive, really scrub all the jumps. Reed's got a hot line here on the inside.
And he sets up Dungey and blows past the Suzuki rider, and right up into 2nd place goes Reed.
Just as Reed was about to catch the young superstar, he had some trouble in the whoops section.
Chad Reed is down. Chad Reed goes down here in the Metrodome. He was up to 2nd place, closing in on our race leader, Josh Hill, and all of a sudden, Reed is out of it.
And what a momentum killer for Chad Reed as we look at the replay here with Chad Reed. This was where I said he had a hot line and he got a bad bounce.
Oh, man.
Rode that Yamaha in. It could have been worse if he had got on top of if he had got over the front of the bike, and if he was not able to turn the bike in and lay it over, he would have gone straight over into that huge Subway sandwich on the outside of the berm.
Shortly after the midpoint of the main, rookies Hill and Dungey were pulling away from a 3rd-place Kevin Windham, but Josh Hill, enjoying a near-perfect ride on the tricky Metrodome track, began to check out from the rest of the riders. Meanwhile, Reed made a late race pass on David Villeman for 7th, but that's as close as he would get to the leaders. In all its years as a stop on the Supercross schedule, the Metrodome podium had never seen a first-time winner until tonight.
He begged Yamaha to let him ride the big bike, and they finally gave in, and it pays off. It's Josh Hill wins his first ever Supercross main event.
Josh Hill claimed his very first main event victory over Ryan Dungey and his Supercross idol, Kevin Windham. The rookies ruled in many, taking the top 2 spots on the podium. More importantly, Reed's 7th place finish allowed Windham to close on the leader with only 18 points separating the 2 riders. Despite his mediocre finish on the night, Chad Reed still sat on top of the leaderboard with 238 points, followed by Kevin Windham with 220 points and Andrew Short with 172. With only a handful of rounds to go in the 2008 Supercross season, Chad Reed had officially fallen on hard times again. After his emotional outing in Daytona and a subpar finish in Mini, Chad was mired in another valley of his roller coaster Supercross season. A crash in practice and then another in his heat race made it look like his bad luck would continue in Toronto's Rogers Center. For round 12, Chad was facing a lot of adversity, along with a quickly deteriorating track that had been giving riders fits all night. But like any rider in the series, he was only one main event away from getting back on the right track. And Chad looked good from the gate drop as he grabbed the hole shot for the main event, followed by fellow Kawasaki rider Josh Hill and 3 Hondas of Davey Millsap's Andrew Short and Kevin Windham.
It's been a rough night for Chad Reed, but he's going to get the whole shot of the main event. Coming after him is his Yamaha stablemate, Josh Hill, the winner of the last round.
After a night of heavy racing, the track was breaking down quickly and throwing off the riders, especially Hill, who washed out on lap 2. And again, only a half lap later. By mid-race, concrete was actually showing through in a few areas, but this seemed to have no effect on Reed as he lengthened his gap over 2nd place by nearly 12 seconds. Nonetheless, Millsaps was putting in a good ride when he went off track on lap 12. Luckily, he kept the bike running and his position, but Kevin Windham, who was running in 3rd, saw his chance to bounce.
A huge swing of the points for Windham if he can gain one more spot back.
After a good late race battle between the 2 Honda riders, Windham finally passed the Supercross newcomer for good on lap 15.
Well, here it comes. Here he goes inside of Millsaps. Oh, I thought that was going to be it. Millsaps was having problems, and it bit him because now Kevin Windham is passed and up into 2nd.
However, no one was going to catch Reed, who easily grabbed his 7th first-place finish of the season, followed by Windham and Millsaps. Not only had Reed claimed the only Canadian round of the Supercross season, but he was back on track once again.
The last few weeks have been rough, and I just want to get up here in Canada and ride my heart out and put that thing back up on top. I'm so happy, you know. It's been a rough time. Never in my career in the U.S. have I gone back to back off the podium, and that sucks. So, you know, I just totally controlled that race. You know, I felt really strong. Those guys would come up, and I'd just pick up the pace. And, man, Canadian fans, it was a lot of fun being here.
Moving back to the States, Texas Stadium in Dallas was ready for the next round of Supercross. Chad Reed was riding high on his confidence-building blowout in the previous round, but it was Travis Preston that got the main event hole shot, followed closely by two Yamahas of Josh Hill and Reed.
Tim Ferry on the inside on the Kawasaki. It looked like he had a great start to his teammate Travis Preston getting the whole shot.
The Cowie boys were to the first turn first, but Ferry has gotten gobbled up by a pair of Yamahas. Here's Hill in second and Reed in third.
While Preston led the riders through the first lap, Reed worked to get ahead of Hill, finally passing his teammate in the turn right before the finish jump. During the second lap, Reed ducked under Preston in the corner and stole the lead.
And he takes a nice, safe line and lets the door open wide and makes a very clean pass.
A few turns later, a hard-charging Hill busted around Travis and put him back in third. Knowing he would lose points if he didn't at least get into a podium position, Kevin Windham began carving his way through the pack. By lap 9, Windham had managed to get past Tim Ferry to sit fourth behind Millsaps, Hill, and Reed.
Here he comes alongside Ferry.
They both triple into the turn, but Windham, whoa, here comes Ferry.
Boy, he took him wide. Into the whoop section they go. And Windham with more speed takes it.
With 6 laps to go, Millsaps was trying desperately to pass Hill for second, with near disastrous results.
And Hill closes the door, but Millsaps comes back bar to bar with him. Contact almost in the corner.
What?
Oh, down, man! Millsaps finally into the tough block.
He saves an unbelievable round. He was on top of the tough blocks.
He was on his wheel. And look at Kevin Windham right on the back of him now.
The near miss caused Millsaps to lose time, and Windham began to reel him in.
Oh, Windham tries to take a shot at Millsaps. Here he comes through the rhythm section. Right up alongside. Oh, and he had contact with him in the corner.
But the young rider wouldn't surrender his spot on the podium to the veteran, as Millsaps finished third behind Hill and Reed. With Chad finishing first and Windham out of the top 3, Chad was beginning to get his breathing room back in the points chase and decided to cut loose a little. It was also the 4th Dallas main event winner of his career, giving him more Supercross victories in that city than any other rider in the history of the sport. David Vuillemin has been a fixture in Supercross for more than a decade. While designing Round 14's Ford Field track, the Flying Frenchman decided to play to his strengths. Unfortunately, that meant the track would also suit Chad Reed's riding style as well. Or so people thought. Vuillemin's other nickname is the Cobra. Perhaps that's why Reed would find himself severely snake-bit in Detroit. During practice, Chad mistimed a rhythm section and went soaring over the handlebars, crashing violently into the hard-packed track below. Spitting up blood and nursing a shoulder he thought for sure was broken, Chad was helped off the track for treatment. By the time the heat races began, Chad was medically cleared to race, despite having broken a small bone in his right shoulder and rupturing several membranes in his chest. With Kevin Windham only 27 points behind him, Chad was in no position to sit out an entire race, even though he was in great pain. One of the grittiest riders Supercross had ever seen would just have to forget his injuries and go race. After ducking out of his heat race in the 3rd lap and barely starting his last chance qualifier, Chad used his provisional, an AMA rule that allows any rider in the top 10 in points to advance to the main event despite not having qualified through the heat races. As the gate dropped, Eric Sorby shot out and grabbed the hole shot, followed by Tommy Hahn and Davey Millsaps.
Eric Sorby with the hole shot. He's been a rocket out of the gate this weekend.
And Tommy Hahn's in second.
And Chad Reed's dead last. Oh, he had troubles in the first corner.
Windham and rookie star Josh Hill were buried back in the pack, while the injured Reed washed out in the first corner and got up dead last. Sorby led the entire first lap until Millsaps, who had moved around Hahn, passed him as lap 2 began. Meanwhile, Windham and Hill were moving up through the pack, almost in tandem. By the middle of the points race, Davey had lengthened his lead to almost 5 seconds. Windham had moved up to 3rd and brought Hill with him into 4th. Chad Reed was mired back in 17th place and was beginning to get lapped by the main event's leaders, including Windham.
Whoa, they get a little tight coming out of there.
I don't think anything there was intentional. Look at Chad Reed trying a far left.
With 4 laps to go, Reed had managed to move up to 14th, and by the time the checkered flag fell for Davey Millsaps, he was in 12th, and Windham finished 3rd, closing his points gap on Reed to only 16. Under the circumstances, Reed had turned in an incredible ride.
And Reed, incredible run, finishes 12th. Chad Reed battled to 12, picked up 2 spots on the last lap.
Kevin Windham had closed the points gap between himself and Reed, but after a heated close quarters discussion at the end of the main, he was more concerned about what happened on the track when he tried to lap the Australian.
I felt like he ran me high, and when I was coming by to lap him, you know, I knew that, I mean, obviously he's hating, and I give him all the credit in the world for being out there. I just felt like he ran me a little bit high, and you know, I just went over there and told him that, you know, I really respect him, and you know, when I go over there and I ask if he's all right, you know, it's not just because I want to get information. I really, I want to race the best, you know, and I'm glad I made some points today. The Torco Racing Fuels Honda was running great. You know, I just, the best man's going to win, and you know, we just like to let it play out. And I felt he was being a little dirty, so I just want to go there and confront him, and that was just basically about it.
However, Chad didn't see it that way.
You know, he just kind of, I didn't even know what Kevin finished, but I think got 3rd, and I was letting everybody by. You know, I've been that guy that's been out in front, and I could barely hold on. And when Kevin come up on me, it was just a bunch of ruts, and you know, he thought I ran him wide, and it's just basically me out there just floundering around being a lapper, and I hate to be that guy.
The tension in the air was thick as Supercross 2008 was beginning to sizzle. Chad Reed was still top dog on the leaderboard with 296 points, but with 3 rounds left to go, could he hold off Kevin Windham? Thanks to his main event victory, Davey Millsaps had moved into 3rd with 229 points. With only 3 rounds to go in the 2008 Supercross season, Chad Reed's health would be a determining factor in who would take the championship. Chad was still hurt, but was rehabbing his body as best he could. It would require another gritty effort on his part just to finish the season, much less hold on to the title.
Yeah, just try to get the swelling down, try to take the pain down. You know, that's a big priority right now, and then just try to get my lungs better. You know, a lot of the things that I need to do for my shoulder is minimized because of my lungs. So, you know, just try to get out here. We've got 3 races to go and 16 points, and at this point, I'll take that.
Kevin Windham's goal was quite different. If he had any hopes of stealing away the championship, Kevin would have to ride outside of his comfort zone, race aggressively, and hope as many riders got between him and Chad as possible for the rest of the season. As the gate dropped on the St. Louis main event, Tim Ferry lost control of his bike and collided with Nick Way, sending them both over the berm and off the track.
It's going to be the 107 getting the whole shot of Kelly Smith. Chad Reed sits in 3rd, and right inside of him is Kevin Windham. They're bar to bar as they come through the rhythm section and over the big triple.
A few turns in, Millsaps accidentally nicked Smith's back tire in a rhythm section, sending both riders sprawling to the floor of the Edward Jones Dome and handing 1st and 2nd place to Reed and Windham.
And now it's Reed and Windham 1 and 2. The championship on the line.
Can you believe this? These riders were not up front around the first turn and just negotiated their way through and picked their way through. Got a little lucky with the top 2 riders.
The men who were 1-2 in the points race stood 1-2 on the track until lap 4, when Windham, known for his insane speed through the whoops, used that section to get the pass on Reed.
And Windham now really putting on the pressure.
He's got the lead. He's got him. Kevin Windham takes the lead over in St. Louis.
Windham was racing according to plan, being aggressive and focusing on the win. However, the cooperation he needed from the rest of the players in the field didn't pan out. Ferry and Millsaps had crashed, and newcomer Josh Hill was stuck back in the back as well. Chad's plan was working too, fighting through injury, staying as close to the leader as possible, and grabbing as many points as he could. Windham took the win, followed by Reed. Andrew Short rounded out the podium. Kevin's third victory on the season was well earned, and despite Reed's second place finish, he'd gained some precious points in the race for the title.
It's been a wild series, and I'm just thankful to be in the position I'm in right now. It's been a long time since I've been in this position, and I've been riding as well as I am, and that alone feels good, but the closer I get, the hungrier I am.
Wyndham's victory brought him even closer to the leader as the veteran continued to move up in the standings. The battle for third was becoming heated as well, with only 3 points separating Davey Millsaps and Andrew Short. 13 points were all that separated Kevin Windham from Chad Reed, but in order to catch the leader, Windham would have to ace the remaining rounds and hope that Chad was off his game enough that it would matter. Large rocks dominated Seattle's Quest Field track, making it difficult to race the various lines necessary for passing. Good starts would be the key to victory, as Chad Reed would soon discover. The Australian came roaring out of the gate, but got caught up with Josh Hill in the first turn.
Reed went to the inside and went down. He's down in the first corner. Chad Reed is down.
Off the track, he has to get back on.
And he's got a problem.
Clutch lever got bent up. Yeah, the quick release, the spring-loaded quick release. He just hammered that thing right back down. Chad Reed, our points leader, last place start.
Meanwhile, Windham pulled ahead of the pack and took the lead. It was a stroke of good fortune for Kevin, but a nightmare for Chad, racing in last place while Windham stretched his lead. But on lap 3, Kevin would get another stroke of luck, but this time it was all bad.
Kevin Windham's got a tuck block cover on his bike. It's on the right side. If that gets in the rear wheel where the rear brake is,
it did! It did! Oh no! Kevin Windham, of all things, it locked up on him. Oh, there it goes.
It's clear. He has to get the bike started. Reed has not came by yet.
There he goes. There he goes.
Where is Chad Reed?
He fell all the way back behind David Milliman, so that's about 7. Unbelievable stories here. The drama in this championship is just remarkable.
And look at Vilman racing Windham very hard. Took him high in that berm. He's not giving him an inch.
Andrew Short moved into the lead, followed by Davey Millsaps and Tim Ferry. Chad Reed had moved up to 12th, while Windham dropped back to 7th. After both riders moved through the pack for a number of laps, Windham managed a not-so-clean pass on Josh Grant to get up to 4th, while Reed maneuvered around Heath Voss to take 6th. Reed then raced past Grant and began to close the 7-second gap between himself and Kevin. As long as Chad remained in 5th, every rider Kevin passed from here on out gained him another 2 points in the standings. So Windham went to work, passing Tim Ferry in the rhythm section to enter 3rd, right behind his 2 Honda teammates, Millsaps and Short.
Here comes Windham! Through the woods to the inside! Right alongside of Ferry, can't get the corner. Now he comes back at him into the rhythm section.
And Windham cannot waste any time. This is a full 2 points that Windham's trying to pick up right now.
Oh, this is huge. Here he comes. He got him, and this Quest Field crowd goes crazy. Tremendous action. Windham on the 14, Millsaps on the 118. Apparently no Honda orders as they go bar to bar. Windham's got him. He picks up 2 more points.
Windham is going to earn this if he gets it. He is absolutely flying. What an incredible ride for Kevin Windham all the way up to 2nd.
Reed scored a pass on Ferry to move into 4th. Now, the only thing standing between Chad Reed and another main event victory was his arch rival and 2 of his Honda teammates.
Oh, here comes Reed! Reed trying to take 3rd away. Right alongside, and Chad Reed is up to 3rd. Millsaps not riding overly aggressive either, Jeff. Not putting up much of a fight at all for his Honda teammates. 1 to go here in Seattle. Who's got the strength? Who's got the endurance? Who's got the heart? Windham, Short, Reed.
Short makes a mistake.
Here comes Reed up the inside. He got him. Oh, he falls. He makes a mistake. Short
absolutely hammered Chad Reed when Chad Reed did the slide job. Half a lap to go, and Short is still hanging on at second place. Here comes Reed across.
Windham in the lead. Short and Reed battling it out. They go past Ryan Clark. Reed to the outside, cuts back inside. He's got him again. Short battling back on the outside. Right alongside as they come to the final corner. Kevin Windham wins. Chad Reed takes second. What a championship fight.
The race was over, but the rivalry was heating up. After Reed snubbed Windham's post-race congratulations, they finally exchanged a few words at the top of a jump, while Andrew Short, who had slammed into Reed on the last lap to hold him back, joined them. The exchange appeared polite until the riders reached the podium.
I actually called him over to say congratulations, and I guess he was ticked off because there's too many Hondas on the track and they were all up front. Yeah, hey, I need all the help I can get, man. I know when he crashed in Detroit, it seemed like Hill's only objective was to beat me. And hey, man, I think we see everybody kind of work together with colors, but he's mad right now, and I don't know why. Hell, he's got 10 points going into the last round, so he's in the driver's seat right now. I just do what I can do the best I can, and that's been winning. It's been feeling really good. The Torco Racing Fuels Honda's running great. We're gonna bring this thing down to Vegas just like I wanted to do, and seemed like gained an enemy along the way, but it's all good, man. We're gonna keep it on the track and rock and roll.
They're just doing what they're told, and you can't hate on them for that. And man, I want to thank my team. They did awesome, and to come from last and battle back to second there on the last lap, that was really cool. That felt awesome. And there's team tactics, and then there's dirty riding, and I definitely know a difference. I've been around this sport a long time, and man, I'm so happy to minimize the damage tonight. I didn't think it was going to be possible. It's a really tough track to pass on, and that feels awesome. That feels better than any win, better than any comeback from out of hospital. Man, that was damage control right there.
When it was all said and done, Windham had gained 3 more points on Reed, with only 10 markers now separating the two riders. And Millsap's lead over Short for third had shrunk to only a single point. The fireworks were sure to fly in the final round of the season in Las Vegas. Supercross had raced all over North America, under domes and in the open air, through dirt, mud, rocks, and clay, during good weather and bad. And now, only the final round remained, the World Championship in Las Vegas. Chad Reed was still ahead of Kevin Windham in the points race, but the door was open for Windham to steal the title. But in order to do that, not only would Kevin have to win the main event, but Chad would also have to finish outside the top 6 riders. After battling Reed in their early heat race and winning, Windham was riding with tons of confidence, which carried into the start of the main event. Windham flew out of the gate with a purpose, only beaten to the hole shot by Honda teammate Davey Millsaps.
Here they come! Davey Millsaps with Kevin Windham right behind him. Millsaps gets the hole shot. Oh, they stack up.
But where was Chad Reed? All the way back in 7th, 1 spot outside of a championship clinch. But Reed quickly improved his position as he passed a few riders and found himself quickly in 4th after cruising by Nick Wey in the whoops.
Here's Reed coming up the inside of Nick Wey, and he just blitzes past the KTM rider. That'll put him to 4th.
Knowing he needed at least a main event victory to keep his title hopes alive, Windham caught up to Millsaps and managed to get past the race leader.
On the inside, textbook move by Kevin Windham. That gives him the lead as they charge back into the whoops. He pushes Millsaps wide. Coming to the finish line jump, Millsaps cannot get back around him.
Back in the pack, Reed could have played it safe and stayed in 4th place until the checkered flag fell and still claimed the title. But the gritty Australian was thirsty for the main event victory that had eluded him as of late. However, in order to claim the top spot on the Vegas podium, he would not only have to pass Windham, but work his way through his toughest arch rivals, Honda riders. Davey Millsaps would make it a bit easier for Reed by going down on lap 5 and dropping back to 7th.
Davey Millsaps is down. There you see him. The 118 has fallen. That'll move Reed up to 3rd, and it puts Short in 2nd.
Now the only rider between Reed and Windham was the same one that had aggressively stood in his way back in Seattle, Kevin's teammate, Andrew Short.
Almost side by side, coming up the corner, and Reed. Oh, that was all about intimidation, wasn't it?
The tenacious Supercross superstar then had half a race to catch the leader, but would only need a few laps. Reed stayed on the gas until he'd lapped half the field, developing a crushing 8-second lead on Windham. By the time the checkered flag fell, Chad had won the Vegas battle and the war as well.
It was unbelievable. I think it's the sweetest one and the sweetest season yet. You know, we fought through a lot of ups and downs, and I gave it everything I got every time I was on the track, and that's what I'm proud of. You know, champ or not champ, and I want to thank everybody that was behind us. Man, Yamaha gave us a bike that was a lot more competitive than last year, and it was just made my job a lot easier. You know, I went out there and just worked my butt off for May last year. All the guys at Salmon, Wow, Fusion, man, Thor, Parts Unlimited, Bridgestone, Scott. If I forgot anyone, sorry, but this feels really special, and I want to thank Kevin for fighting all the way to the end. And being in top 5, man, you kept it going all year long, and respect for that, and it kept me on my toes the whole year. It was a lot of fun, and it's where the sweat comes from.
In the end, Chad Reed had accumulated 365 points to Kevin Windham's 352. Andrew Short had edged out Davey Millsaps for third by a slim 3-point margin, and Supercross rookie Josh Hill rounded out the season's top 5 with 228 points. Chad Reed had battled through a tough season and won, securing his second Supercross title. By having the most consistent season among all the riders, Kevin Windham had come close and was now firmly in the middle of a career renaissance. Aside from the dogfight of the veterans, the youngsters of Supercross had acquitted themselves in fine fashion. Andrew Short rode strong and secured a spot among the top 3. Davey Millsaps delivered on the promise that his natural-born talent had made, and Josh Hill came out of nowhere to surprise everybody. A visitor from the lights class, Ryan Dungey, put in some great rides as well. Also, Tim Ferry showed everyone that the longer the race went on, the faster he became. And next season will only be more exciting with the return of a healthy James Stewart. And don't count out another injured star, Ivan Tedesco, who was out the entire year. Add in some incredible talent moving up from the lights class like former champion Ryan Villapoto, and the field not only gets bigger, but tremendously deep as well. It could turn out to be the most talented field of riders ever, giving Supercross 2009 the potential to be the most exciting season in history.